All right. It's time for another episode. Junky.
Hey man, we gotta check the credits on that. Ole.
I refuse to check the credits on that.
That's a hit.
It's a comedy hit.
It's a hit though.
It's a hit for him because he think it's being taken seriously, but he don't understand he the new JJ Icefish.
Hey man, look, in 2022, it don't matter. TikTok pay them focus. Like TikTok say you can upload your own song now. And they gonna be upload Ole. And then when they put out them views and they get straight, that cash money.
Like, you know what,
You
man?
gotta check them credits.
Listen, it's not coming on this show, bro. It's not happening.
We get him on artist spotlight, man.
Oh my goodness! I would put Lil Nas X on this show before I put Olehihu on the show. That's what it is. That's what it is. But I tell you what. Today on today's show, we got an engineer from Miami, Florida. Now hold on, let me run down his credits because you know it reads something like this. I have to sit it here in front of me. His credits read something like this. We got Rick Ross, we got Rihanna, we got Jeezy, we got Jay-Z, and who else? Tupac, DJ Khaled, Keith Sweat, Lisa Left Eye Lopez. All right. Now you know that sounds like the typical Atlanta.
No, that's not typical, Ian. I'm gonna have to let you rewind.
That's not the typical Atlanta.
No, Ian. We're gonna have to rewind. That's like top tier Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Typical,
all right.
That's like
yeah. You know what? All right. All right. Okay. I'm just talking about in the top tier or the higher echelon of engineers. You know, in that top tier, that would be the resume.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, heavy urban, right? But hold on, you know what? I didn't finish. We also have Pearl Jam. Okay, we got hold on, Aerosmith. We got Jackal. You know what I'm saying? All these rock bands up on here. Who are hold on? That's Soundgarden.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, cool.
I'm ready.
Let's go ahead and bring him on in. We ready? My man, Karl Heilbron.
Thank you so much.
Did I say that right?
You did, yeah, that was close. That was good. I appreciate it.
Because I was like, I just got stumped real quick.
Yeah.
Heilbron.
My whole life. That's my life story there. My mispronounced name. Ian, man. Good to see you, dude.
Good to see you,
man.
bro.
It's been too long.
Yeah, yep. It's been a minute. You've been out here doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? When did we connect, man? I know it was before Lisa, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was
with Jason.
Lisa.
Remember Jason Bowen?
Yeah.
I think Jason Bowen's the guy that introduced me to you when you were at ASCAP.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I used to manage Jason Bowen.
Yes, man.
Talented
That's when it started.
Singer, songwriter, musician.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
And then now refresh my memory. How did the Lisa thing come together?
Lisa actually came through. Monica spoke to you, I think, about it, didn't she?
Tannenbaum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Monica spoke to you, I think, and I.
Let's do a quick introduction. So for those who don't know who Monica is.
Okay, yeah, Monica was a godsend to a lot of engineers. Especially when I moved out, back to Nashville for a while, and I came back.
Mm-hmm. And she started with Dallas Austin, right?
She did, yeah.
Okay.
So Chick over at Atlanta Pro Audio. I just showed up and was talking to him and telling him, hey, man, look, I'm trying to find work, like, back in town, and I have been gone for a minute. So he recommended Monica, who was managing engineers and producers, and she worked at DARP and knew a bunch of things. So met with her, and, she basically just laid all that out. Every gig pretty much for the last maybe 5 years after I met her worked directly through her, including Jeezy and the connection to Left Eye, which is amazing because, I'm not even sure how that even happened at the time. I didn't really even realize how it was happening. I know she spoke to you. And
we were looking for an engineer.
Yeah.
We had already met.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I believe, and my history may be a little hazy about this, when she mentioned we had already had that relationship, and I was like, okay, well, cool, let's go.
Yeah, we already known each other for a decade.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and it just worked out. It just worked out.
It did. Yeah, it was a highlight for sure. I mean, it was definitely a little nerve-wracking in the beginning because it was my first album I had done on Pro Tools. This is the first one where there was no tape, and I remember walking into the room out in Stone Mountain and looking around for the tape machine, and I'm like, well, I think you were even in the room when it happened. I'm like, so where's the tape machine? They're like, no, we're doing all this in Pro Tools. And I was like, okay, great. Doing what we do, what engineers do sometimes, be, like on the fence of should I even dive into this pool to see if I can drown or swim.
Right.
And then, I we worked it out in the first couple weeks. I learned pretty much how to cut an album on Pro Tools because I'd only assisted sessions and never really recorded one, which I'm sure I'm probably telling you this for the first time. You probably were like,
exactly. Okay, Carl's not the one.
I don't think
he doesn't know
out.
Pro Tools.
No, he doesn't.
We're gonna have to get the 2-inch tape in here for Carl.
Yeah, but I wasn't gonna lose that gig, man. There's no way. I was super excited, and she was great. The whole time, and I learned a lot and just had a blast, man, making that record,
That's what's up.
And a little sad it never came out. That was one of the
not in the States.
My
it came
Def
out
Jam
overseas.
issues, with Def Jam, but for the most part, it was exactly what she wanted, which was the intent,
Right.
And the label wanted her, labels wanted her to do what they thought she needed to do.
Right,
She held on to it, man. She didn't budge, and ended up being a thing where I think she basically said, well, then don't release it in the States, and which is ballsy to do, at the time, and I remember thinking
she knew her power.
Sure, yeah,
and we're talking about Lisa Left Eye Lopez, with of course from TLC, and with what was the name of the album again?
It was called, oh my God,
so
bad, yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Supernova.
I was gonna say Shining Stars.
Wow.
Supernova.
Yeah, that was bad.
Why you don't know, Ian?
I do know.
I'm trying to put him on the spot. Why you don't know, Ian?
That's why I asked him. I was hoping he would know and save me. Okay, so we just jumped right into the meat of it. I want to rewind it. Let's rewind. Let's go back to the beginning. Now, you're initially from Miami, Florida.
Correct. Yeah.
What's your background? What's your roots?
My parents are Costa Rican.
Okay.
So I was born in Miami. I'm the only one in my family that was. My brother was born in Costa Rica too.
Okay.
So I mean, just being in bands in high school, playing bass and wanting to be a rock star at some point.
Right.
And then went into an 8-track studio for the first time. It was above a pizza place in Hialeah, which is this 99% Hispanic neighborhood near Miami. And just fell in love with the process. I'm not even sure why in the beginning I was so fascinated by it. I just was,
Right.
So I started hanging out with the guy that owned the studio, and he showed me a bunch of stuff, like how to cut tape and edit. And then when I graduated high school, I thought, well, I'm either going to go to college and study something I don't like, or I'm going to try to see what being an audio engineer is. Yeah, right. And I had to convince my parents because they had no idea what the job even was. Nobody really knew what the job was in '85. There was no internet, there's no anything you have access to everything to see what we do now. But yeah, back then nobody had an idea, so it took a little bit of convincing, to pay for it, basically. So I went to Full Sail when there was only 30 of us in the class. They graduated 60 people a year back then.
Wow.
Which they do a quarter now. And it was great. I learned a lot. I learned as much as I could. Left school, interned at Criteria in Miami, which was, I'm not even really sure how that occurred. I think somebody who was doing the placements at Full Sail knew somebody at Criteria. So stuck me in there. And I worked there in Miami maybe 3 years. Met a girl, of course. That's always how it is.
Yeah.
Who lived in Canton. So basically just, we were getting over being in Miami. And she was like, hey, we can move to my hometown, and I'm sure there's studios in Atlanta. No clue what was going on in Atlanta. No idea. It was 92.
Well, at that time, there was. This was 92.
It was just starting. Yeah, it was just starting the ramp up.
So even the studios was just starting to make a switch here because they weren't Doppler was a commercial, and when I say commercial, I mean they did commercials, jingles.
Right. Yeah.
When you walked into Doppler for the first time. Back then, they had a wall full of Clios.
Correct. Yeah.
You
it
know
was
what
an
I'm saying?
ad agency.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There were no plaques, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, until LA and Face moved up in there
Right.
and started, and Dallas Austin and the rest of them started working in there. So, you know, the scene where we used to work was where the old school bands, SOS, Cameo, is Web 4 Studios, and then there was another one that was right next to. I can't remember the name
Cheshire.
of it. Yeah, Cheshire.
Yeah.
Cheshire, because it was on Cheshire Bridge, Cheshire
Right.
Bridge Road, right
Yeah.
off of Cheshire Bridge Road.
Yeah.
So that's where, you know, we were in the studio. I was in the studio with Joyce Fenderella Irby and Dallas Austin, and I remember the boys being in town, you know, recording over in that area as well. So that was our whole thing. So, my phone's ringing right now. Of course, it's gonna, you know, right in the middle of my interview.
Yeah.
You
See
know
what I'm saying? Like we live on camera, ain't in here, and I'm not editing it out. I'm leaving it right in there. You feel me? So we can know that Ian he on his phone.
We gonna blame it on Draylin, because Draylin called me right in the middle of
Look,
my
if I
conversation.
learned one thing about Ian early on is Ian is you hustle, dude. Like to no
Thank
end.
you.
Like you always have like 3 or 4 things in the fire going, and you know you always got stuff going on. So that's why I think a lot of us like appreciate you, and one of the reasons why I wanted to come and do this, so I could gush over you for like an hour, because literally like you are
Thank
the
you.
reason for a lot of us really seriously like being able to do anything, because you would, you know, as long as you got along with the person, you would push to get us stuff pretty
Absolutely.
much as we could take, and then it was always great, man. Yeah, so I appreciate that, man. You
He
know,
must don't like me that much then. You feel me?
Well, he's just getting to know you, Ken.
No, I'm talking about you. He said if you like them, you will do it. So
You here? Hold on now. You here,
right? You're here,
But the show wouldn't work without Cass. So he really needs to be here. He's not doing. I'm not doing him no favors. That's what it is. But yeah, you know that, and that's what it was all about, man. I one hand washes the other. I felt, and I feel like the talented people deserved an opportunity, and if I could afford to give it to them any which way, and I didn't know that things would turn out to be the way they turned out, you know, but that's not the purpose. I wasn't doing it for the accolades. I was doing it because, you know, I thought it was cool. It's a cool thing to do. If I can put you in a situation, hopefully you'll remember that, and you know, you'll look out for me in the future. You know,
Always. There's a handful of people in Atlanta that I will literally do whatever, you know, you need to have done or whatever. Still, so
Right.
just so you know, yeah. There's, you know, like I said, you know, you, Monica, you know, Chick, who doesn't even live in Atlanta anymore. You moved to Florida. You retired, smart, got out and moved. But yeah, man.
So, and once again, I learned this the other day. You know, mentioning people's names and not explaining who these people are.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my producer got on me about that.
Right.
Chick ran Atlanta Pro Audio, and Chick is not a chick, it's a guy.
Right.
That Chick was his nickname. And he sold everybody their pro equipment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When the Pro Tools came out, the computers, all of that, all the new materials always went over there to Chick. They always had a display of the new stuff that was in there so folks can go and buy it or sample it. You know what I'm saying? They were always doing those kind of like seminar type things as well, to teach people how to use the equipment as well. So, you know, Chick is his name is synonymous with the music scene here in Atlanta as well.
Sure. Yeah. He helped a lot. I mean, I wouldn't have met Monica if it wouldn't have been for me. He literally just told me, "This is Monica. Call her." You know, she's got a couple engineers. I think she had Sam then, and Daniel maybe. Yeah, and that was it. So yeah, I think an hour after I left Atlanta Pro Audio, I called Monica and we had a meeting, and
that was it.
That was it. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so let's talk about, because you know, like I said, the name of the show is Check Your Credits. Where did your credits begin? What was your first big credit going in?
You know, I think another reason why I moved out of Miami was I wasn't too jazzed about doing Spanish language records only. You know?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, my Spanish is so. I understand it and I can speak it okay, but I don't know, man. I could picture myself in 30 years still doing Spanish language records.
Right.
Which is funny because I have a friend named Caesar who graduated a year before me, and he has like 15 Grammys from Latin Grammy. So, you know, you'll always have those. Okay, well, you know, he hung in there, and yeah, let's see what happened. But yeah, so Angie, my ex-wife, brought us to Atlanta, to Canton, and I was here maybe, I don't know, a week and a half, and we used to get that Mix Magazine directory. Remember that?
Yes.
So Mix Magazine used to make this directory that was basically like a phone book of all the studios in Atlanta, all over the world, basically, and it was great because back then, again, no internet, so that was the only way you could find
what was going
phone numbers,
on,
addresses, and most importantly, studio manager names. So I just went down the row. I called. You know, I had a meeting with Bill Allgood. I don't even know if he's still alive. He was pretty old back then, so he might be. Allgood has a recording studio. Super nice guy. I went and met with him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not really hiring anybody. I'm looking for more like interns." And I was like, "Well, look, you know, I just moved here. Like, I need a job, you know." So the second call I made was to Mike Clark at Southern Tracks.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it started, where he was super nice, and he was like, "Yeah, you know, come in and talk to me. It's a strange timing thing, but meet with me today." So I jumped up out of Canton, I drove to Atlanta, and I went to Southern Tracks and met with him. Super nice guy, older, Southern, completely South guy.
Right.
And apparently the assistant engineer that was at the studio, who's the chief engineer of the room, was quitting the business because he worked on a Black Crowes record, and you saw me hesitate for a second if I should say that or not, a Black Crowes record, and it did not go good at all, to the point where he quit the business. Like,
wow.
He couldn't take, that was it. That was his breaking point. I had conversations with him. He was like, I can't take it anymore. So he trained me maybe 2 days and left. So Mike offered me the job. Hey, look, you know, I don't have anybody. You know, this guy seems to like you. I think you seem okay. And so I started working at Southern Tracks. And then about 2 weeks later, we got a new SSL console, which was the first one that had 64 inputs, this ginormous beast that barely fit through the door.
Right.
And and then the reason for getting the console was to get Brendan O'Brien, the producer, to come and make his records.
Big producer, yeah.
So first record, I'm at Southern Tracks, like maybe not even a month after we commissioned the console and plugged it all in and everything. You know, we're making STP records. It was insane. From the point where I started.
Pilots,
yeah, sorry. So when I started working to that point, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, and I was still super green, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I never really had made like residential records, which means like, you know, the band basically will move into the studio for 2 months or whatever and start the record and finish it by the time they're done.
Gotcha.
So basically they rent the whole place. It's not, you know, Southern Tracks only had one room, so there wasn't anything else going on.
Right.
And yeah, they would do that. So we started doing that, and then, you know, we went from STP, we did Rage Against the Machine, then we did Pearl Jam, and then we did Soundgarden. It just kept going and going. And then that's when I met Keith Sweat, who was working with Silk at the time.
Right.
Another weird coincidental timing thing. I had been assisting TK, you know, Tom Kidd.
Yeah, Tom Kidd, yes.
Another amazing engineer in Atlanta. And he was engineering Silk at the time, and he couldn't do the session over the weekend because he had a family, kids, so he had plans, something he had to do. Mm-hmm. So Mike Clark, the owner of the studio, asked me, he goes, "Hey, you know, TK can't come in on the weekends. You know, they want to keep cutting. You know, can you cut it?" So, of course, again, another question that has the same answer always. Sure, I'll do it. Right.
Absolutely.
Stick me in there. You know, I mean, I'm thinking, what's the worst case? That it goes bad and they hate me and I get fired? Well,
right.
I'm already not doing it anyway. So,
right.
So yeah, I ended up doing that with Silk, and we went, you know, that weekend, and then it kind of just kept going from there. You know, I started doing everything that Silk was doing. The record was just about to come out, their debut record, and I ended up doing it. My first thing that I did with them that was just me. I produced a remix for Freak Me, which I had no idea at the time what was going to happen with that song. You know,
yeah.
we never know. Like, you know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have no clue. If you ever think that we have a clue of what songs are going to be smashes and hits, there's no way. Or you know, we would be president of the record labels or something, because apparently they kind of know, you know, in certain instances. So yeah, you know, that's kind of where it started.
You know what? They really don't know. They're taking educated guesses.
Yeah, or they got a team
you know
of
what I'm
people
saying?
that,
exactly.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
you know, they're
right.
listening and be like, okay, yeah, that should be the record we lead with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which Freak Me was a huge record.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I knew it was catchy when we listened to like songs are better than other songs. You know, we
Right.
cut a lot of songs, and a lot of times you're just kind of like, okay, that's okay. You know, I mean, I knew it definitely had potential to do anything, but it was their debut album. It was the first album on Kia Records, which was Keith's label. So
Yes.
who knows? You know, it could have done nothing. It probably should have done nothing on it, honestly, in the market the way it was then. It was just a great record, and the guys were great. You know, and they could. I mean, Little G can really sing.
Yes,
so,
he can.
So you know, that was the pull and the draw. So yeah, and then it just kind of kept going from there. You know, he ended up stealing me from Southern Tracks, and I went to the Sweatshop, his studio in Alpharetta.
And
then,
Alpharetta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so then how did these rap legends come into play, man? Jay-Z, Jeezy, and the list goes on. How did all of that?
Another Monica plug. Yeah,
okay.
Monica plugged me into, and she knew D, who was Jeezy's personal assistant at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a studio. He had just started. I wonder if he bought that house. He might have bought it. Shakespeare's old studio, old house that had the studio in the basement.
Okay, so it's
Perimeter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he bought it after Jay-Z, not Jay-Z, after Shakespeare had it.
Yeah, it was Shakespeare's old house with the studio in the basement. So
Right.
It was right off of Ashford Dunway, I think. That way. So,
Is that Drew Castro and everything? Was Drew Castro involved in that at that point?
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I don't
Drew
know.
must have came later.
Yeah, I think whatever ended up. I guess he bought a bigger place or moved somewhere else, and then he was just using that house as a studio. So I think when Jeezy had moved into the house, maybe like a month before I started. So it was the same thing. Monica just called and say, hey, I don't even know if you know who this is, but this rapper needs an artist, engineer, to come out and basically like be his guy. And I know you've done that before, and that I can stick you in, and you're not gonna make a fool of me and stuff.
Right.
Because Monica was super blunt, by the way. She was awesome about that. And then I went there. One afternoon at like 3 o'clock, I waited till like 1 a.m. for him to show up to the studio. Pretty much how it goes. Yeah, how it goes. And we just started working. We started making records, and it was right when My President's Black single came out, so he was starting to do more than he'd already done. It just snowballed from one thing to the next. We went to Miami for a while, and then we started going on tour, and we started recording his record on the bus, and 8 years.
Wow,
So
8 years.
It was cool. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. We recorded a ton of people. Jay-Z came from that. We recorded Jay-Z's verse for his song over at Patchworks. And
Right.
That was pretty great. I was super terrified, honestly.
You were intimidated.
Oh man, no. Jay-Z's the dude to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's different between if you work for artists that are famous, but they're not. I know these artists are famous, but they're not like I don't hold them like to that in that place.
Yeah,
wow, man, it's
different, and I'm right there with you because I have the same situation. Working in the industry here in Atlanta. I know. I've worked with TLC, so they're just my peers to me.
Right.
But to everyone else, they're the biggest female group of all times.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but when I met Prince, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
I was like,
yep.
I had a fan moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we still have them. It's not like we don't have them. I
Exactly.
still don't even know what to say, and I'm scared to even open my mouth. And Prince was another one too. Yeah, I met Prince backstage, and I was the same way, man. I kind of like shake his hand. I might like because you hear stories like, oh, he tells everybody to if you see him in the hallway, you have to look to the ground. You can't make eye contact and all this weird stuff.
That was not my experience.
So I'm like, wow, man, no, yeah, not at all. They're never like like you think or how they would be. If anything, they're cooler than you would think, so it makes you not be all weirded out. Because I'm sure your initial reaction is just to look completely freaked out and weirded out. But yeah, they always make it seem like it's like they make fun of you. Like, why are you being so weird? Stop being so weird.
And seeing that, but see, that's hard.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It.
Like, I listen to your music. Your music is the soundtrack of my youth. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're trying not to. You're thinking. I know I was thinking I was looking cool, but I know I was just.
Yeah, you know what rats you out? Pictures.
Right.
Pictures will rat you out because I'm like, wow, that went pretty good. Like, we did a session with Snoop and I held it together. I seemed like I held it together, and I look at the picture and I'm like, like completely like shell shocked. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I wasn't. In my mind, I was thinking I was being cool.
all kinds of cool in your mind.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, not at all.
All right.
So yeah.
So okay, so let's talk like Grammy nominations, man. Like, what you got? 2 or 3 Grammy
four.
nominations? 4
I have
Grammy
4, yeah.
nominations.
I just seen you on Facebook or something. Didn't I
Yeah.
see you on Facebook? You just got a Grammy?
Yeah, recently, this is weird, and I'm a little embarrassed that it happened, but I guess it doesn't really matter. I worked on
Grammy is a
Soundgarden
Grammy.
for we did Black Hole Sun. We mixed both songs that had black on the title for whatever strange reason for Super Unknown. Brendan mixed it. I was second engineer. And I just noticed a couple of days ago was like the 25th anniversary of the album coming out, and I noticed that somebody wrote in their little blurb that they put that it won a Grammy, and I was like, what song? It was that song. I had no idea. For 22 years, I had no clue that it won a Grammy. I don't know why. I guess I wasn't following that back then. I was more following like how many albums did it sell, thinking, oh, okay, well, it's 5 times platinum, 6 times platinum.
Right.
But I never really stayed up with that, and come to find out that that it won. Unfortunately, I came to find out today that the engineers don't get Grammys for the song. It's because they won Best Metal Performance for the song. So you know how Neris is. They have those weird like, okay, well, these people get it and these don't get it. But
You don't even get the certificate.
I get a certificate. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
participation.
But that's a Grammy.
Fine. Right? Exactly. I'm fine with that. I was really the lady that wrote me an email was all apologetic. I'm sorry. It's a lot of people get confused about that. I'm like, look, why are you apologizing? I'm still super happy. Just the fact that I didn't know.
Are they going to give you your certificate
They
now?
are, yeah. So in a couple of months, exactly. So I'm good. Yeah, I'm great.
Like my guy Leslie Braithwaite. Do you know
Sure.
Leslie?
Yeah.
He's got like 20, 21 Grammys. Now all of those aren't the statues.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? All of those aren't the statues. A lot of those are the certificates because of his involvement.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But to me, that's a Grammy.
I agree. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you were part of that record and that record won a Grammy, you may not see the statue, you got the certificate,
Right.
You're just as good. You could sit there and say, I'm a Grammy Award winning engineer, producer,
Right.
songwriter. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you. It's just weird.
Yeah,
I don't care when it happened, 22 years ago, 122 years ago.
You got
a
the
Grammy
Grammy.
is a Grammy.
So
weird 'cause I had no idea.
It's not
Yeah.
Grammy nominated anymore.
No.
It's Grammy Award winning.
Correct. Yeah.
Engineer.
Which is just bizarre as hell. All this literally went down like in the last couple of days. Because
Wow.
it's the first time I ever noticed that.
Right.
I don't really know why after 22 years I waited to even notice that. But
You had to
it's something
remember.
that I
You had
wanted
to
to
remember right quick. You feel me?
Right, yeah. Or just I just happened to look at that particular person who wrote, that one thing pointing out that song won, because I never would have known probably. I mean, I
Crazy.
don't I don't work with Brendan anymore, so it's not like I would know, and I'm pretty sure if he got one, it's probably in a closet in a box on the floor somewhere. I know this guy. There's no way if you ever go to Brendan O'Brien's house, there's going to be Grammys displayed. There's no way. He was just opposite that completely.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, that's my resume. I'm sorry. Like I've never won a Grammy. I've won all kinds of awards as an A&R person, and of course I have my plaques. But for me, like I tell even when folks come here to the studio, I'm like, yo, this is my resume, so y'all could, you guys could see that, this is what I do, and that's important to me, man. But some people, I guess maybe they don't like the commercialization of it. You know what I'm saying? And and that's good. That's fair.
There always should be that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of rock and roll. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like rock stars are supposed to be all voicing their opinions about everything, and of course that happens with that too. And it's always been like that. It's always been like, oh, it's political. And I remember when Keith lost to George Michael in the R&B category. Man, he was so mad. He was so mad, and understandably so, because was that really R&B? Like, I don't know. And it was that fine line between, I don't know.
But see, that's the thing too. Who was the flute player that won for best metal?
Oh, Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
over Metallica. Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's happened. The history of Grammys, right there. That's always happened. Something weird happens. I mean,
because you know what they had at that point, they had all these older people in there that really didn't know.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah, because you used to have to have 12 major label credits to be able to vote.
Right.
And who had that? Only people that have been in the business for a long time. None of the young guys didn't have that, because how would you? So, yeah, that was the issue.
I'd like to think that we here in Atlanta, the Atlanta music community here, helped make the Grammys a little cooler.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because they started realizing that, there's all these other subgenres of music and things that we're not really paying attention to. And then, in the 90s, the Grammys weren't paying attention to anything that wasn't like mainstream pop, rock. That was it. It wasn't anything else. And I guess they finally realized that, okay, well, we can't keep going this way because we're completely ignoring that whole side of the business, which ended up being bigger than the other side of it.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I think, as far as like the Grammy show goes, it's okay. I think they're kind of holding on to what they think needs to happen for those shows, and it ends up being a little stale and a little kind of slow, for most people that watch it. That's probably why I feel like the viewership's gone down so much. I mean, even watching like the ACMs a couple of days ago, which the Country Music Awards, was way better show than the Grammys, just because it's all artists, it's all people playing and singing the whole time. Maybe 2% of the award show is actually people getting awards, which is cool, but it's also boring. Musicians aren't actors. We can watch the Oscars and we're super entertained because actors know how to do that.
Right.
It's their job to say things. But, rock stars not so much. And it's kind of a lot of it's like, okay, cool. And then they'll cut them off too, early because they're just rambling on about anything else. So, yeah,
I want to thank.
Right. It's like, okay, number 37 person we're thanking.
Right,
they're
exactly.
Gonna shoot you off, Yeah, for sure.
My 8th grade teacher.
Right. Yeah.
Your influences. Did you have any where you came in the 80s and see, did you like for me, like I came up in my hometown, Mount Vernon, New York, I came up reading credits on the album with Thus the Show Check the Credits.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we don't have that anymore. So I would sit there and I'd listen to my favorite albums and I would read the credits. Yeah. It was something to do while I was listening to the music. And I always wondered what these jobs were. For you, was there anybody that you was like, man, I want to get that sound? Because I know it might be kind of difficult because you came up and your career began in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So was there anybody that you felt like, man, this guy, his mixing is impeccable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there was a few people when I first started that, that I was kind of obsessed with. Like, there was a guy named Rupert Hine who did all these British new wave records in the 80s, like The Fix and Psychedelic Furs and all these bands that I loved in the 80s. I was just fascinated by how they sounded. I had no idea how to do it. I had no idea how even a studio even looked like. I had no idea. I hadn't been in anything. So I think sonically, I remember hearing those records and going, wow, I don't know what this guy's doing, but it definitely sounds different. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to do it or how to get it. But that was definitely one. And then I remember sitting maybe 8th grade with the Pink Floyd The Wall album open, my big old Pioneer headphones,
right.
and just listening to it and reading everything that was there, and the sleeves used to come out when you pull the vinyl, and it had all the lyrics on it.
Yeah.
I was in heaven, and I probably sat there and listened to that record. I ended up having to buy it again. I still have the original copy, but I ended up buying it again because it got so messed up that it kept just dancing around on the record. Yeah, so it's definitely something weird about a kid that would do that. Like I'm sure you the same weird.
Oh, absolutely.
Weird kid, yeah.
I was because my family walked around like, what is he reading? Like what? What's he? And I'm just like, I just want to know.
Yeah, I just love it. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why I do or what's going on, but I don't know. Yeah.
And I had no plans on getting. I dibbled and dabbled while I was in New York, and a band and stuff like that, and singing Michael Jackson stuff and the Jackson 5 or whatever. But I had no illusions. My father was the musician in the family. I had no illusions of being in this business, none.
Yeah.
The reason why I moved to Atlanta was to be close to my parents when they retired and decided to move to Florida. I didn't want to go to Florida, so I came to the state right above the Florida line.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I could be closer to my family and started studying computers.
Right.
And I just happened to fall into this situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I fell in love with the behind the scenes movement, And I was like, yo, this is for me. This is where I need to be. And I just started absorbing everything in and trying different things out. But I knew for one, like I was never going to be an engineer. I give my hats off to y'all.
The patience thing.
The patience thing.
Everybody always says that's what he-
I was like, listen, what do you mean it's flat? What is sharp? And then y'all had to cut the tape before Pro Tools. Y'all had to perform surgery on the tape to mesh the situation together. I was like, nope. I went to the Art Institute and my first studio there at the Art Institute was Soundscape, and then it was Web 4.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not for me. Like I don't have those ears. Like, yo, that sounds good to me. Why are we doing this over and over again?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So nah, dude. And then as I got older, and we were working on the Outkast album, this other Playlistic album, I was just like, yo, y'all, I'm going in. We were at Bosstown, which is Stankonia now, but it was Bosstown then. I would go find an empty room, crawl up on the couch and go to sleep or watch TV. That was it. I could not stand being in the studio.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe a lot of engineers have some undiagnosed stuff in their heads, to be able to just be okay with doing that, like just to be able to be okay.
We definitely got something wrong with us.
Yeah, man. Just the ridiculous amount of attention to detail that we gotta do.
Speak on it, Chuck. So see, he's the new, this is the new generation.
Something wrong with us.
The self-taught engineer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
There's definitely,
What's wrong with y'all, junkie?
There's something wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, I don't know. I'm different. See, I'm from the new school, but I ain't like the new school. I went and got a bunch of old school mentors. So then y'all sitting there like, you don't want to cut the tape. I'm trying to go get Peas to take me to see some tape. Peas, come show me how to cut this tape. You know what I'm saying? LB, what do you do? Like, I got older mentors because they understand what we doing better than what we understand it.
Right. And
to me, in my opinion.
Right. And y'all simple. Everything is just like super simple for you.
But
it's cut and paste.
It's simple, but it's unlimited possibilities.
Okay.
So due to the fact that when I fuck with Pro Tools on this computer, it's unlimited possibilities. So due to that fact, people do too much. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like
are you saying they overthink?
Yeah, they do. No, not really over. That might be how they think it. You feel me? Because we from the new school. We always had unlimited. Like what we can do here is unlimited. But then when you talk to somebody from the old school who came up and they had to touch a SSL board, they still approach it like that because it's only like on the SSL board, it's only so many moves you finna bust. It's only so many things you can do. Like I can't put no harmonic plug in here or some delay. I gotta bust my moves, and then my moves have to be recorded. If I gotta remix this song, I gotta remix this whole.
The whole shebang.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So then they're looking and they're listening and they just see the game different.
Right.
You know, like the older people that's been doing it, they see the game different because they came from what the digital is emulating. Like they came from the real deal.
Okay. All right.
I think there's something important too with the boundaries or limitations of gear back then that made you think in a different way, where it made you think, okay, the band cannot come into the studio and write this record and mess around.
But did that make you more innovative though?
Back then?
Carl? Yeah.
Yeah, because you had to figure out how to do things where you didn't go nuts or take forever or mess up.
Right.
You know, I mean,
right.
Yeah, there's endless things I could bore you guys for hours about mistakes.
Bore Ian.
About mistakes, man.
Bore
All kind of
Ian.
mistakes, like all kind of stupid things that I've done, erase things, miscut tape, and I mean, I was always fascinated by the fact that these producers and engineers back then would trust little second engineer me to cut stuff. Like I never really understood why why they didn't seem to think that was as scary as it actually was. You know, I mean, we just, the band was just in the room. We did 3 takes. Okay, now I want you to like piece this take together from, you know, take 2. I want the chorus into take 1 of the. I mean, just stuff like that where I literally have to like spool plastic tape on the floor and mark it and put it in a thing and cut it. And pray that I'm cutting it right, because I maybe got 1 or 2 shots to pull the tape back off and restick it. And that's it. And literally, if I mess it up, I have to go tell the producer and the band that I messed up and I messed up the edit.
How many times you get jumped?
that I had to tell the band. You know,
how many times did they come after you?
Oh man, there was quite a few. You know, just things like, you know, just not really knowing what I'm doing. Like, you know, cutting where I'm timid about it. You know, It's a razor blade on plastic, so you have to like just rip it across. And I get like, you know, kind of like freaked out, and it'd be all jaggedy, and there's no way to fix that. Like, I'd have to trim it down, and you'd hear it when it passed. Oh, it was nuts. So yeah, just trying to figure out ways to do things within the limits of what you have. You know, we only have 22 tracks because the first one and the last one get eaten with code and blank.
Right.
And that was it. You know, your music has to fit in 22 tracks or it's not going on here.
Right.
So, you know, we would stick things like the cowbell in one section of the song on the same track as the hi-hat and an 808 drop at the end on the same track. So you'd have to split it, you know, and make sure that it would work, because there's just no other way to do it.
Man, that sounds like straight fun. I ain't even gonna cap
it. But it was stressful too. Like, I had a lot of I had a lot of like nightmares and sweaty nights waking up.
You know, because like you, y'all, there's no way y'all can mess up. It's like, okay, cut, paste. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. But see, it's something that you don't get when you ain't cutting it. When you ain't dealing with that tape, like, you like, yeah, it's just a tape, but the tape has a sound.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The tape has a feel. The tape has a warmth. So it's not really just the tape. That's why I'm like, because all the digital stuff is trying to emulate the tape.
Right, right.
So as a person that's working with an emulation of the tape, I want to go touch the tape. That's the only way I can figure out how to really use the emulation.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
No,
it
does.
Absolutely.
It makes sense.
Right, but you want to know what a half-inch 2-track sounds like to know what the emulation is supposed to sound like. Oh, we know, you know, I mean, I know exactly what a half-inch.
Exactly. So the only way you can get it is to go do it. You got to go do it.
Yeah.
So, Carl, which do you prefer? The old school methods or the new school methods?
You know, I've done records where we kind of do both, which is ideal to me. We recorded some drums.
I know you don't cut no more tape.
I do not. No, I don't. I will if I had to, but no. There's no way. There's no reason to. You could just dump it from the tape machine into the Pro Tools and chop it in 2 seconds. But,
right.
Yeah. The thing about that is that you know, like I said, we did a record where we cut all the drums on a 16-track 1-inch, which is about the best sounding format that I've heard so far. But as soon as we got done recording it, you know, okay, ready, here we go. All right, the drummer count, he's on a click. The band would play the song. We were only trying to keep the drums, so the rest of it was just, you know, it's a scratch. And then as soon as we get done, hit stop, rewind it, push play. The drummer will come listen to it. Okay, yeah, that's a great take. I love it. While he's listening to it, the playback, it's going into Pro Tools. So that's it. It only goes on the machine when it's recording. I rewind it, I push play, and it's straight into Pro Tools. And that's it. Take the tape off, put it in the ground.
Yeah,
because now I can manipulate it and chop it and do whatever I want and endlessly, you know, do whatever, and I don't have to cut tape.
So it's like the best of both worlds.
It still sounds better though. There's something about cutting drums.
It's the warmth, on tape.
Yeah, kick drum on tape sounds amazing. A vocal on tape still sounds great.
It feels.
It sounds great. Yeah, but I don't think the cost and the
cost
need
is prohibitive.
Yeah, because, I mean, 2-inch reels hold 15 minutes, and they're $335 now. That's nuts. 15 minutes, there's no way. I mean, back in the day, you know, we would have $20,000 tape budgets, and nobody seemed to care because there was no other alternative. So we got to buy tape.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
we got to send tapes to California to have somebody play on it. I'd make safeties and send them. Delta Dash. I'd take it to the airport.
Delta Dash, yeah.
I'd take it to the box to the airport and hope I wouldn't miss the flight and hand it to the lady. And she already knew me because I'd go there like twice a week, and she would, okay, there you go, and send the tape, and they'd get it in LA, 5 a.m. Do the same thing. They record on that piece of tape. They do the same thing. Delta Dash it back. That's insane to think how long that would take. Yeah, man. I mean, I
better
literally
re-transfer
had to
that
drive.
thing. Yeah, we transfer me.
Right. We transfer. That's it. Instant sending. Yeah, it makes me crazy every time I do it. Every time I push it, I'm like, man, how many times did I go to Delta Dash? I can't believe I just sent that, master across the world.
I remember the Delta Dash. I do. I had to make several trips there. Working with Organized Noise, I had to make, it's like, hey, get these masters. Masters have to be out to LA. They have to be out there today.
Right.
Get it to Delta Dash. I'm like, all right.
Okay, here you go. Give me the
So I got one more engineer question. So for all engineers that are working with artists, how do they go about handling their business so they actually get their credits?
Okay, that's a good question. Credits, my whole life recording have been love and hate. Okay, love because back in the day that was the only way you could see who was making stuff, and I got a lot of work from people looking at records
your credits.
Exactly,
checking the credits.
right. So the bad part about that is they've always been messed up. They've never been right. They've always massacred my. If you Google search my name and you look at my credits, like on allmusic.com is one. I have alternate spellings for everything. Like I literally probably have the majority of my credits are alternate spellings. Like they'd spell my first name with a C. And my last name was a complete massacre of whatever they felt like doing. And they'd leave letters out and add letters, and so. As that gone on a little further, it's harder and harder to keep track of who was doing what, especially nowadays where records get made in a billion different places with a billion different studios and engineers. Typically, if the label actually cares, the A&R person cares. I'm totally. I feel like I'm talking about the mob. I need to be careful what I say. The A&R people have to be careful with with how they make sure that the credits go, because people will flip out now because you can see them readily online who did what and whatever. So if they omit somebody, or back in the day they used to give you credits for songs. I got credit for some songs I didn't even mix. Like I did mixes of them, but the mixes I hear on the records are not mine.
Right.
And I hate that more than anything because I don't want that. I always wanted to know that if I mix a song that it sounds a certain way because I mixed it. You know what I mean? Like, and back in the day they were a lot cooler with letting you do really whatever you wanted to make the record sound better. As long as it sounded better, they were great. Like I would add stuff, and I had an MPC 60 that I would program stuff when we were mixing. Like Southern Tracks was basic. Like I would have like a little production stuff set up. So when I was mixing records, I would add stuff. And I think about it now, and I think about, wow, that's no way that would go down now. Producers are super protective. I produce, I'm super protective about my music. I don't want anybody changing anything or adding anything. But back then, they didn't seem to care. Like I don't remember ever one time when I changed a drum pattern or I added something to a part where Keith said, oh no, I don't like that, I don't want to use it. He just didn't care. He was like, okay, that's cool. I'm like, yeah, you like that tambourine I did in there? Yeah, that's cool. Half the time I wasn't even really sure if he knew what I was talking about.
What part to your greatness though? Like he trusts your greatness. He trusts what you hear. He trusts what you think.
Yeah, which is hard to know from somebody who doesn't really tell you stuff like that. He was like a stepdad that never said anything like. Ugh, I try to be careful. Like a stepdad that never he wasn't just one person who gave you like, hey man, that sounds great or good job. That's not Keith. Never. No, it's never been. And I haven't talked to him in a while, but it'd be nice if that changed. But no, it was never like that. And I learned that early on that if that's what your goal is, like you talked about earlier, if that's what your goal in the business is, it's the wrong business because it's never going to happen. You're never going to have somebody tell you. Very rarely do artists, more so now, but back then, very rarely did artists ever tell you anything, and very rarely were you ever really interacting with the artists. Like making modern rap records are kind of that way now. Like I very rarely see the artist. He'll pop in maybe for like 30 minutes, do his verse, and leave. Like they hate being in the studio, which is really bizarre to me because it's like, okay, it's your job in the first place, and that's the fun part, isn't it? The fun part is performing and doing what you do, and making records. But yeah, they treat it kind of like, oh man, like a drag, so those artists are kind of hard to do, but that's pretty much how records get made nowadays. You'll be in the studio for 8 hours listening to a song in loop. I mean, all day. And then maybe roll into the next day. I'll come in and I'll say, oh yeah, what are we gonna work on today? Oh, let me hear that beat from last night. Man, another 8 hours of the same song going around and around. And you just have to be able to stay focused, because after the 10th hour of the second day, he's going to go, okay, I'm ready to record now. So now suddenly you have to be on 100% and be able to do what you're supposed to do when I literally haven't been doing anything but eating and drinking coffee for the past 20 hours, you know. I think that's the hardest part, to remain focused and to do the job, you know, and be patient, because it takes forever, you know. It takes longer than you want it while you're sitting there doing nothing for hours. And I mean, you get paid, which I guess is the upside, but
Right.
you know, after a while you start kind of contemplating. It was like, man, like, you know, I know I'm getting paid to sit here, but I got other stuff I could be doing.
Not me. I done pulled up with the Call of Duty, the screen, the Xbox.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah,
But
No, thank God phones now though. Really, you can self-entertain for weeks. It's a lot better. Yeah, thank God. Because
I know I love for them to book at 6 and show up at 1. I've been playing Call of Duty the whole time.
right, because you know, because you're the banker in you is going, hey, I just worked 6 hours. I didn't do
Exactly.
anything, and I got paid, you know, this
And
amount of money an hour.
I got paid
Right.
to play Call of Duty.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. As you work on bigger projects and bigger records and major label records, it becomes more that you get paid to do nothing. I sit around a lot now with records, just because, I mean, I'm waiting, you know, for the artist to show, or for the artist to actually decide, okay, I'm ready to record. I'm in the corner hanging out, you know, and like I said, you know, I'm okay with it. And you know, it was definitely a learning thing, because in the beginning I used to kind of antsy, you know, about that. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, let's record, let's work. You know, I was used to working on bands and artists with no money. You know, it's different. You know, bands with no money are not going to waste 20 minutes of doing anything. They show up, they work, they're going to work till the very last second of their hour, or their 10 hours or whatever, and then they'll go and they'll come back early and they'll be ready.
Right.
You know, but bands with unlimited bottomless budgets, they
Yeah,
don't
it's
care.
like
They
whatever.
won't show one day. They don't care. Hey man, you still down there? Oh yeah, man, I'm still sitting here. Oh, you can go home, man. It's cool. I'm not coming in. Okay. Day 2 rolls around, same thing. Hey man, you down there? Okay, I'm gonna be there in an hour. Okay, cool. I'll sit around and wait. 6 hours later. Oh yeah, man. I don't know. You know, I'm gonna go Onyx instead. Oh, okay. You know, you just sit around and wait. But you know, it is what it is.
Onyx is.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. We gotta explain that. Yeah, it was right behind. It was right behind Soapbox, which is not a good idea to have a club.
Is Soapbox? Is that Soapbox behind Onyx?
Yeah, it was. It's low key now, but yeah. It was right, like literally, you went behind where the towing company is, the towing company is, and then it was right there. Yeah, that's not good at all. That's like working in Miami, walking through the lobby of the Marlin to get to South Beach Studios. Ridiculous. There's a bar and models and flight attendants. I mean, no, they're never going to work. They never would work. You know, we wouldn't even make it past the lobby. They would stop. Oh, let's just get a drink real quick. 5 hours later, everybody's all drunk, and that was it. You know, we wouldn't do anything. But yeah.
So let me ask you this, and this is my last question. Production wise, you know, have you slid into production? If so what have you produced?
Yeah, you know, the first major label production and co-write I did was Lisa. You know, we did Stars Born. I'm not even really sure. Like I tell people that story sometimes, and I'm not really sure how or why that happened. You know, it was just out of whim. I was bored in her studio. She was gone. I don't even know what she was doing, and I would still go and you know, edit things and still try to learn what I'm doing.
Right.
And then yeah, I just sat down with the MPC and I wrote this really weird beat with a sample that I took from Massive Attack, and didn't really think anything of it when I was done. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's like really weird, but you know, who knows? And I talked to her on the phone in New York, and she said, yeah, I'm looking for the song for my, you know, I want to write about my dad, and I'm not really sure. Like, everybody keeps sending me things, I guess, that they think I want to hear. And I go, well, look, I got a beat. You know, let me send it to you. And I sent it to her, and she loved it. She called me like 3 a.m. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This is great. This is exactly what I was thinking in my head. And I'm sitting the whole time going, are you sure? I'm like, what song is it? Is it that song I sent you? And she was like, yeah, I love it. It's great. And she wrote, you know, like maybe another week later, and we tracked it maybe 2 times, and that was it. Yeah, so that was the first one. And I still try to produce. I've been doing remixes lately just because they're more fun.
Right.
You know,
right.
no artists. They just send me the acapella and
Yeah,
they let me do whatever I want.
Exactly.
And take my time, and then, you know, I'll send them back, and you know, that, you know, hopefully most of the time they like it. Not all the time, because, you know, I tend to do things that are a little weirder than normal, just because, I mean, why not? I feel if I'm doing it, you know, then I could do really what I want.
Right.
But yeah, production, lately I've been doing a lot more live sound, which has kind of become the obsession now.
Right. Okay.
Mostly because I like the immediacy of the reaction.
Gotcha.
Which is really weird. It's pretty addicting. Like, like this band stops playing and the audience goes.
It erupts.
And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I like that. It like rings a little bell in your heart. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I like this. And then I don't have to wait 6 months to listen to what we're doing and wait for it to come on the radio or wait for the artist to release it. And you don't have to do that. It's instant. The bad part is it's gone as
After that
fast as
moment.
right. As soon as the song's done.
That's
it.
why God created social media. You record
Correct.
that moment and
Yes,
then you
I love
post
that.
it.
Yeah, I love that. I was trying to get a gig to Mix the Span, which that's going on tour in May, that I actually ended up getting, and I had to send them clips of stuff, like they want to hear like what I've done. And so I literally just scoured YouTube and found, there's every show that I've done at Masquerade has somebody filmed it on a phone, So yeah, I was able to send it because I don't really, I film some stuff, but I can't, like I'm in the middle of the show, I can't hold my phone up and film anything. So just on the advantage of having that, it was great. I literally just found a couple of things that didn't sound horrible on an Apple phone and, and sent it. But yeah, touring is definitely a nice thing, a nice change from the studio. I stopped for so long after Keith's tour. For like 10 years, I stopped touring because I was burnt. I was done.
Burnt out, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think Jeezy's tour was the one that brought me back into the touring thing and started to realize, oh wow, this isn't really that bad. It all comes down to what artists you tour with.
Right.
Right. I mean, some artists are
And your
difficult, some are
experience,
not. Some are super nice, super great. Like the country guy I'm
And
doing
some are
tours
assholes.
with now. Yeah, Jacob Bryan, I'm a plug. Yeah, he's super nice, man. And I'm not. It almost makes me uncomfortable in the very beginning when he would like come on the bus and like tap me on the shoulder and go, "Hey, man, that sounded really good, man. Thank you." I'm like, "You're welcome." And I kept thinking, which is so messed up, right? It's like I was like raised with a dysfunctional parent or something, where I'm like kind of weirded out by like people saying anything nice about things, and I'm like, okay, because in my head always, you always hear problems that nobody else heard, and and nobody else really could care, and I'm just like, yeah, that second song was
You're too hard on yourself.
always, it's always how it is. He knows, how it is. I mean, you listen to your mixes, and it's endless. You'll just endlessly.
He thinks everything he does is perfect anyway.
That's not
know what I'm
fact,
saying?
Ian. That's not fact, Ian.
Because
That's not fact,
he
Ian.
gets up in there and he lays his videos like he records, produces himself, shoots his own videos, all of that.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? So
I became an engineer to record myself. Now, I didn't know I was going to end up here.
Right.
And then
Right.
be the head engineer. I didn't know that, Ian.
But that's the best way to do it, because you don't have to you don't have to communicate to anybody what you hear. You just communicate to yourself.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I learned how to record like with a little Fostex 4-track when I was at home, because I wanted to be able to record songs I was writing. They were terrible, but
You can get
I
it
just
down.
wanted to be able to not have to go somewhere and tell somebody else, this is what I want. When that's a really hard thing to explain, like I don't know how to explain. Well, I don't know, it sounds
just know
like
how to
this or a
do
little
it.
bit this way, right. You people give you the most ridiculous explanation for things. Oh, I want it to sound a little more green or a little more like like the sky. I want to kind of sound like the sky. And I'm like,
yeah, I needed a little purple hazy.
right, the sky, purple haze. What? I don't know what that means. Let me try to figure out. Is this what you mean? No. Okay. Well, let's try this, because that makes no sense. And they've done that to me my whole life. They'll tell you things like that where you're like, and then you just try to do what you can and try to do the best you can and not make yourself nuts. Still be alive,
Chill.
old as hell, making records and not dead.
So, Junky, do you know that he used to be the head engineer here too?
I was thinking, like you saying he was working with Jeezy. I know Jeezy worked downstairs.
No, he worked
I met
for
you
Icon.
when I was just at the very end of when I was here. You had just started.
I was just starting.
Yeah.
I was.
And he was the intern then.
Yep,
You know what I'm saying?
He was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the marketing side.
yeah.
Trying to get to the concierge. And then I found Stone. And when I found Stone, I was like, oh yeah, it's over with.
Stone's another guy, another great, ridiculous wealth of knowledge about the music business. And things I love about conversation I had with Stone when he was at ATV was just the bluntness of records when I played Stone records. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty
He's
sure he's
blunt.
probably like that now. Yeah, let me tell you play Stone a record and get ready, because he's going to literally tell you exactly what he thinks. and exactly what's wrong or what's good, you know?
Right,
But
right.
yeah, most definitely he won't like sugarcoat it. He'll be like, okay, this is what I hear. And then I'm like, all right, I remember being like, okay, I'm ready. And then he'd hit me with it. I'm like, oh, wow, that hurt. But it's, and I think back now, it's true. You shouldn't tell people things like, oh yeah, that's really great. Or
blowing
and
smoke.
if it's
You
not,
blowing smoke.
yeah, man, don't do that. You got to
told me-
keep it frank.
When I first started, he was like, it's one of the realest things Stone ever told me. He said, you're going to deal with some bullshit. It just depends on if you're going to let it be bullshit or fertilizer.
Oh wow, see,
And I was like, God.
yeah, see, Stone's got the gems. Stone's got the gems, man. Yeah, he
This
always
was
had
before the
those.
speaking.
dropping nuggets.
This was before the speaking, so maybe he was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this was before he started speaking and all that. He just in the lobby. Me, him, and B-Dog
Yeah,
was
man,
talking.
always.
I was at the desk.
That's where Stone likes to hold court though, in the lobby. In the lobby. Speaking of Stone, man, we man, we could probably talk here all
We
night.
could, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hold on, let me take one more time to gush about Ian.
Ah!
Ian's a dude, man. Yeah.
Man, I truly
I
appreciate
appreciate
that.
you. Yeah, I appreciate
That's
it
the
from
second
day
person,
one,
Ian?
man, for sure. Yeah.
The Brat told us that.
Yeah.
He just told us that.
Yeah.
You on the road, big dog?
I'm
man.
trying, man. I'm trying.
Always a straight shooter.
You know,
that's for
but
sure,
see,
yeah.
the thing of it is, these are the people that want to come and sit down and have conversations and talk about what we want to talk about. And it just so happens that these are people that I have relationships with. And,
Yeah.
I appreciate you for coming
man.
here, taking your time out, and being on our show.
Sure, dude. I appreciate it. It's fun.
know?
I always
Thank
love
you,
talking
Brody.
about this. Yeah. We can
So
talk endless.
where can people find you? If they, because you're not here in Atlanta now.
I'm actually 50% here.
Okay.
And, yeah, I have a house in South Carolina, so I'm back and forth. But I'm here. I've been here like 5 days a week lately.
Okay.
So yeah. So
So how
I
can
love
they
my
find
house
you?
in South Carolina, man. I have chickens.
bet.
Yeah, I do. I love it. Yeah, on IG, it's just my
IG,
name.
that's
Yep,
the best way.
My name, yeah.
So
And,
you're going to have to spell it because these people...
oh yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that my audience is dumb. I'm saying is, Karl is with a K, not a C.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, and the last name's Heilbron.
Heilbron.
Heilbron. Yeah.
Heilbron. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is my man Karl, and he's an engineer. Junky, did the credits checked?
Yep, we check his credits. Talk some good engineer game too. I don't know if we talked some good engineer game yet this year. But we talked good engineer game today.
And it's good we needed more engineers. This show actually started off as an engineer type show, but we decided to expand it.
Right.
To okay, let's give everybody
Sure.
their credit check. Let's give everybody their just due.
Right.
So you're one of the first like pure engineers that we've had on the show actually.
Yeah, I think he the first one. Yeah, definitely.
You know what
the
I'm
first
saying? So thank you.
Sorry?
Kudos to you.
Sorry about that. Sorry, I'm first.
Oh, no.
yeah.
It's all good. Hey, y'all, so we're going to sign off tonight. But stay tuned. We still have the artist segment that we're going to do. So don't go nowhere. My man Karl is going to go back and make some more platinum records and win some more Grammys like he just won 22 years later.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But me and my man Cash Junkie will be right back.